Sup guys, I just got done unlocking Napoli, and I'm hereby claiming the title of first Napoli unlock in the world, as I haven't seen anyone claim the title yet. I've been playing this game for quite a long time, and this is my first time being first in the world for anything, so it's quite the monumental achievement if you ask me. As further proof, I even said in my Discord that this is the first in the world, and everyone knows if it's said on Discord, then it's true. The only place more credible than Discord is Telegram. So unless there's a Telegram message claiming first Napoli in the world, my title should be safe. Right, moving on, we've got 3 new PR1 unique augments that I haven't covered yet. First is the Neptune augment. She got a decent timed barrage and a pretty good shield to go along with it, but she's still not super powerful. In case you didn't know, Neptune before her augment was dealing about as much damage as Liverpool, which is a purple event ship that I doubt anyone used. She wasn't particularly tanky either. This augment significantly increases her survivability, especially across multiple fights, but there are still a lot of ships tankier than her. I tested her damage against Liverpool again in 13.4, and she's definitely a step up above Liverpool now, but not by much, and it should probably be granted based on the difference in their rarity. She deals about 30% more damage than Liverpool, but Liverpool is giving her a 10% firepower buff, so the actual damage contribution is closer, especially if you use 3 Vanguard ships that benefit from the extra firepower. She's still not that great, and I would have liked to see her augment reduce her all-out assault to 5 shots, and her timed barrage dealing a bit more damage as well, putting her more in line with the modern SSR light cruisers like Bayard and Watarase. She is a capable stat stick now, but still outdated. In her current state, she would have been among the best around the time when Harbin and Main's face simulation were really good. By the way, you can find the raw footage of my tests on my Testing Vault channel, which will be linked in the description. Next up are Roon and St Louis. First, let's take a look at Roon on paper. The ammo mods on her ammo switch were improved and modernized to average out to 115, 115, 95 against light, medium, and heavy respectively, which are exactly Drake Gun's ammo mods. This in itself isn't particularly a great thing, because you can't take advantage of the better ammo mods of the Unzen gun and Hindenburg gun when you're fighting a light or medium armor boss, but it's pretty good for heavy, at least for now, and pretty good in mixed armor campaign fights. She also gets a strong firepower buff and a pretty powerful barrage, but unfortunately that barrage isn't aimed. So her generalist ammo mods combined with her unaimed barrages make her more suited for a campaign than a damage option for solo boss fights. Her damage is actually quite good though. The forced ammo mods are very similar to Drake's, but I wasn't sure if she would be stronger than Drake just looking at her kit, which I would say is the bar for SSR heavy cruisers these days. First, I sortied her with Drake against Nagato meta. If I'm not mistaken, Nagato meta doesn't have any mechanic that periodically changes the amount of damage you deal to her, so it should be a fair test, all things considered, but if I'm wrong and I forgot something, then feel free to let me know in the comments and skip this part. I'm just trying to see if there's a clear difference between the two, but I don't really care about how much exactly one is better than the other for now. I gave Roon the Hindenburg gun since it has the highest raw damage, and then Drake her own gun since she has no choice. As you can see, Roon is clearly ahead of Drake, which is still true even if you factor in the oath difference. Here's another run where I also included Lala with Hindenburg gun instead of Drake gun though, since I have only one Drake gun plus 13 for Drake herself. It seems that Lala is actually the strongest, followed by Roon, then Drake, and she would deal even more damage if she was using a plus 13 Drake gun instead of a plus 13 Hindenburg gun, although I did give her the Mogador gun. If you remove the Mogador gun for a more reasonable secondary for Lala, she'll probably do about as much damage as Roon, but have better survivability and utility. In any case, I feel confident that Roon does pass the Drake test in terms of damage. Although she was one of the tankiest ships in the game when she was first released, there are probably 30 ships tankier than her at this point, including both Lala and Drake, and she doesn't offer anything apart from her damage and bulk, so I would say that she's just about as good as Drake. Drake has slightly higher survivability, but slightly lower damage. Here's a third sample with Roon, Lala, and Nana. I wanted to see Lala's damage with the enhanced laser from sortying with another sister. And Lala did win out again, but the difference wasn't that big. I also tested Roon out against St. Louis and Friedrich Karl in 13-4, using Hanazuki to clean up ships on the side that the heavy cruiser guns can't reach without adding too much RNG. Roon clearly performed better than St. Louis, and seemingly outperformed Karl as well, but that's a bit harder to tell because of Karl's off-flag barrage scaling with the off-flag's firepower, and Hanazuki is not the best ship to take advantage of that. However, I will say that comparing Roon's performance to Drake's performance with Karl as the measuring stick, Roon definitely appears much stronger, and her new powerful but scattered barrage definitely helps with that. Due to the battle durations being all over the place, and Hanazuki being relatively weak, from the small sample size here, I cannot deduct how much damage Karl was contributing. But suppose we used another ship like Mainz or Drake like I did in the previous Karl tests, we can assume that Karl's barrage would probably contribute somewhere between 10 to 20,000 damage, in which case their damage output would be more or less the same. Karl is still a better tank than Roon, so I think it's pretty reasonable to say they're around the same level. Karl is overall the better stat stick, but Roon isn't forced to be in the tank position if you want to use another ship as your tank. Next up is St. Louis. Her buff is a lot more straightforward, getting direct damage buffs when using an HE main gun. She doesn't benefit as much from the augment against heavy armor though. Like Roon, her barrage is also not targeted, but in St. Louis' case, she would prefer to melt down a solo light armor enemy, so that's purely a detriment to her use case. There is currently no light armor punching bag to see how good her damage is exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if her damage is as high as Hindenburg and Mogador's. Only against light armor though, so that gives her a bit of a niche, especially since she gets a better buff from Richelieu than Mogador does, but not quite as much as Ibuki, who actually has a better preload than Unzen. In general though, I will say that these augments simply just increased their damage to a modern standard, but doesn't fix any of their problems. For Roon, guns with better ammo mods will probably come out in the future, and her ammo mods will be outdated once again. For both ships, most of their damage is completely walled by enemy shields, which large cruisers, Hindenburg, Napoli, Ibuki, and to some extent Unzen are able to circumvent, and they also don't bring the utility of Anchorage and Cheshire. From the 13-4 tests, you can see them getting stuck on certain enemies at times because of their firing angle and the enemy shields, causing the battle to drag on. Even though these heavy cruisers are stronger than the light cruisers I tested with Neptune, the light cruisers are able to chew through shields faster and also aim at enemies that are at the top or bottom of the screen, leading to better clear times. Looking at how they implemented Yami's skill, where she fires different ammo depending on the armor type of the enemy she's targeting, I thought they would do the same for Roon's ammo swap, but unfortunately that was not the case. I also think taking Roon more toward the direction of a tank would have been better since that was her original identity with her shields. We also already have two damage-dealing heavy cruisers in PR1 in the form of St. Louis and Ibuki. In any case, both of these ships got huge blow-ups and are quite accessible for new players, and I think they're pretty worth going for now. I'm also going to update my Vanguard tier list while I'm at it. By the way, the tier list maker now supports dragging within tiers, which is a very nice quality of life improvement. It also allows for duplicate ships within tiers now, so you can make skin tier lists too. First, I'll stick both Roon and St. Louis next to Karl as solid statistics that offer something over Drake. I guess Fancy is going to replace Golden Hind as the best ammo holder for those 6 mob fight campaign stages. I think Neptune also does have the bulk to make it into B tier with her augment. I haven't fully raised Napoli yet, so she'll remain down here for now, but I'm eyeing high A tier, probably above Kronstadt. Jinsu meta is definitely strong, especially in a fight where she can consistently drop to 1 HP and proc her 2 extra torpedo salvos that are fully aimed at the enemy. I think I'll stick her in the middle of A tier. There are also the Tulofru sisters, for which I only know Lala is worth at least A tier, so I'll put her in front of Cheshire for now. Anyway, that's it for this update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.